Okay, this time I'm going to explain about Deixis and Distance. My name is Nadia Kalista. I come from UNPGRI Kediri. And then here is the explanation of Deixis and Distance. The first is about Deixis. Deixis means pointing in language. And then Deixis have is also can be named as deictic expression, and deictic expression also called indexical. Indexical usually used by young children to point something. And then indexical have three types. The first type is person deixis. The second is spatial deixis, and the third or the last is temporal deixis. The person deixis is talk about people, and spatial deixis is person deixis is the example of person deixis is just like me and you, and then spatial deixis is talk about location. The example is here, this, there, and that. And then temporal deixis is talk about time. The example is now and then. And also, in spatial and temporal deixis have two kind of speaker's point of view. The first is near speaker called proximal, and then the example is like here, this, and then in temporal just like now is called proximal because it near speaker. And then the second is away from speaker, or we call it distal. The example like there, that, and then. And from the three types of indexical is talk about speaker and hearer have sharing the same context, and deixis itself is from speaker context. That's all about deixis, and we jump into the first type of deixis. The first is person deixis. Person deixis, we have the first point of view called I, the second is you, the third is he, she, and it, and it called deictic categories. In many language, speaker is the first, the second is addressee, we call it you, and the third is others. From speaker, addressee, and others is in many language we call it social deixis. Yeah, that's it. The notes from person deixis. Third person pronouns are consequently distal from in terms of person deixis. Third person is not a direct participant in basic interaction, using a third person from where the second person from would be possible. And we jump into the second types called spatial deixis. Spatial deixis is they indicate distance and proximity from the speaker, physical distance or proximity, mental and physiological distance or proximity. The adverbs just like here and there, and the demonstrative is this and that. It used to mark the movement towards the speaker. Example, I enjoy living in this city. This is the demonstrative spatial deixis, and then here is where we will place the statue. Here is the adverb of spatial deixis. So this form, for example, we have this, here, there, and here is all the spatial deixis. Older texts have various distinct expressions like yonder, either and thence, but which are still applicable, but it's archaic, it's too old from today's language. And then the words that seem to be the first deictic meaning is this and there can be seen, and that and there cannot be seen. This is my book lying there, and then that building is there in Switzerland. There and there in the example is a special deixis, but there, the word there is not cannot be seen. And the notice, remember that location from the speaker perspective can be fixed mentally as well as physically. And people away from the homes use here to show and mean their home location. It call it the special deixis, but it cannot be seen. And the last is deictic projection from spatial deixis. Is to project or show the meaning of different words and to manipulate location. The example is I am not here now. And the second example is I was looking at this little puppy in a cage with a such sad expression on its face. It was like, oh, I'm so unhappy here. Will you set me free? This deictic projection is here, and here is the spatial deixis, but is called it deictic projection. It's to project or show the meaning of different words and to manipulate the location. And then physiological distance. It is pragmatic basis of spatial deixis or objects physically close or in distance. The example is this cat sitting here is lovely, and the second example is that teacher sitting over there. The note is a speaker may also wish to show something distant which is actually close. So this spatial deixis example is this and that is physiological distance. Like we know it showing something distant, but it's actually close. You call it like that. The example is I don't like that. That is not specifically such a thing, but is something distant, and it is abstract. Just to note that this shows that the word that does not have a fixed specific meaning, but it can be changed with respect to context. The last is from temporal deixis. From temporal deixis, we have proximal form and distal expression. In proximal form, showing that the speaker and hearer in the same time. And distal expression is showing that the speaker activity in that time. It can be past and it can be future. We can use elaborate system, that is, one is non-deictic temporal reference and the second is temporal reference. It depends on their interpretation on knowing the relevant utterance time. Example of false utterance. Back in an hour. We don't know if we have a short or long wait ahead. An hour. How about we come in an hour, next an hour, but it's still an hour, and then yeah, that is the example of false utterance. And the second is free beer tomorrow. And we don't know if we will go to the bar tomorrow or one day early. Tomorrow, it's an abstract false, or we call it false utterance. In English, we have two basic times that indicate the time. The first is present tense and the second is past tense. In present tense, in temporal deixis, it called proximal form, and in past tense, in temporal deixis, can be called like distal form. The example in present tense or proximal form is I live here now. Now is the temporal deixis, and then the example from past tense or distal form is I lived there then. Then is the temporal deixis. And then the last is for deixis and grammar. Deixis and grammar is direct speech, and then proximal form is near speaker. The example is, are you planning to be here this evening? Yes, I am. And then the indirect speech is distal form, is away from speaker. Example is, did you told her? Yes, I did. I asked her if she was planning to be there that evening. Okay, that is the explanation of deixis and grammar. And for me, thank you for hearing and watching. Thank you.